Welcome to High Heels and Hay Bales, where polished meets practical, legal meets lifestyle, and debt meets dirt.
I am Kristen, your resident farm mama, keeping it real about motherhood, homesteading, and laughing our way through the chaos.
And I'm Adrienne, aka the Ladylike Lawyer. I'm here to help you make sense of money, debt, legal life, without the boring fine print.
So kick off your shoes or boots or heels and let's get into it.
Welcome back to High Heels and Hay Bales. Well, Kristen, picture this. It is 4 a.m. My face is puffy. I'm in my favorite old pajam jams t-shirt that has Mother Earth on it. It says, I'm with her, right? It's my favorite shirt. And I have just finished completely ugly crying over an episode of Queer Eye on Netflix.
You sobbing at a makeover show is not shocking to me. Um, Never. So, which one was it this time?
Well, it it wasn't the guy with the goat farm. It wasn't the gazebo guy. It was Chris Takes the Wheel. Season 9, Chris Takes the Wheel. It broke me. Like it full body sobs broke me.
The truck guy with the dad stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I I, I may have bawled too, but
Yeah.
I at least I did it during daylight hours.
Well, I get that. And I don't know what compels me to stay up all night long and watch stuff like this, but clearly I was having trouble sleeping. And I kind of get into this episode, and it turns out that Chris has lost his dad like 9 years earlier, and he was still living in the same house. He lived with his dad in this house, of course. And he has like the same routines and the same furniture and the same grief. And it was interesting because this is a reboot of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy used to be the name of the show, and they kind of morphed it into Queer Eye. And really the premise is like these 5 guys, and one represents like food, one represents like, like home decor, one represents like fashion, one represents like skincare, and hair, right? And basically it's a makeover show for people, and it's a makeover show for regular people who have like emotional baggage. And it was interesting because they were also filming the family, right? Doing background. So we're starting to learn about Chris. His dad died. He lives in the same house. Everything is the same. And his family, like his mom, his sister, his grandmother, are all still alive. And they're being interviewed, and they're like, it's just going to be really hard for Chris to let it all go. Chris has been living there for 9 years. He's set in his ways. They don't even like know who he is because he's so quiet and he's taking care of everybody. But when he finally made these changes through the course of this like 42-minute show, he cried from total relief. And that's what this episode is. It's about permission to move on.
Yep. When he said he needed permission to move on, that one right in the old feelers.
Yeah, yeah, right in the old tear ducts, man. It came out. Listen, it's easy to cry at 4 a.m. when you're exhausted too. So I will say that it was a weak moment in that 24-hour period. But it really did get me thinking about grief, about change, about how long we stay stuck, because I think we think that's what love or loyalty looks like, right? We'll stay in a situation, and that's what this show is about, permission to move on.
Yep, that's exactly what we're talking about today. What it means to give yourself permission to move on from loss, from love, and even from debt. Because let's be real, nothing keeps people trapped like a credit balance or a memory.
Yeah, yeah, so you can see how we're morphing this over into the whole money thing. So I've got a corner on the grief market, of course, and so all of this stuff rolls over into the grief with what I've been through. You've got, a very volatile time in your life right now. Your marriage is ending. Lots of things are closing. New doors are opening, but it's a very chaotic and confusing time. And Chris's story wasn't about laziness. It wasn't about being messy. It was about living inside a memory. And that's really what spoke to me was the fact that he was just he was carrying every single bit of emotion for all these 9 years.
Right. It's like emotional hoarding. You can't throw anything away because a coffee mug has memories attached to it, or a t-shirt has a thought behind it, and it just keeps you trapped.
Oh my gosh, I know, and I understand that feeling very, very well. I really do. And his mom and his grandma and his sister meant well, but the holding on was what was hurting them, and they were almost encouraging it. Now that you look on the outside looking in, they were protectively saying, "I don't think that he can do this. I'm not sure he can change. He's too emotionally tied to these things." And so they were almost doubling down on the things that were causing him to stay in this place, right?
Yeah, families build like a shrine, and what you really need is the front door to go wide open.
Exactly, exactly. That's beautiful, Kristen. That's it. And honestly, I see the same thing when it comes to debt. And, people live in the same story for years and years and years. Fears, self blame, even, because suffering actually feels quite familiar. That's the reality. Suffering feels familiar and it feels comfortable. And it's almost
It's
hard to move away from that.
it is, it's awful, and at least you know what the wallpaper looks like.
Exactly, exactly. But moving on doesn't necessarily mean forgetting. It means that you're giving your own future a chance to actually be there. Like we didn't know what Chris was going to become, because all he was the shadow of what he was 9 years earlier, right?
Right, and maybe crying on the couch is step 1, but we support that here.
Yeah. Well, I do a lot of crying. I definitely do a lot of crying. So, what hit me about this episode wasn't really that Chris wasn't necessarily just the fact that he was holding on to his dad's things. He was living the same life. Time was frozen. And I realized that I've done that too. There's a version of me that's still living in that moment where my daughter passed away, and it's been very, very hard to, I haven't even been able to open up the bag that has everything from the funeral home, right? It's been like 15, 16 months. And we can be paralyzed looking around at all of the things that we have, and they all have a memory associated with them. And as I was watching this episode, I certainly felt some similarities with the grief I was going through with my daughter. But I really was seeing this as more of a a personal a personal jail that we put ourselves in. And I see that every single day with my bankruptcy clients. Even with you, when I first spoke to you, you were like in this own personal hell jail and you had the key, but you had to be convinced that it was time to let go, that trying to do the same thing that you were doing wasn't loyalty. It was silliness, right? It wasn't solving your problems. And so
Right, and
I just realized, I mean, we've all been doing that and we've all been doing this and we need to address it, right?
right, and, I get all of that. Mine is a marriage ending instead of losing a child, same furniture of grief, different house, and
Yeah.
you you think you're supposed to hold on because that's what love looked like, but it's really just becoming prison. I was moving things. My office looks different. I'm turning it into my bedroom because I didn't want to stay in that room anymore because that was my bedroom for 4 years. And as I was going through things in this room to move, I was finding pictures and
Yeah.
I was like, what do I do with this? What do I do with my wedding pictures? What do I do with my wedding bouquet or my wedding dress? And I felt like I can't give it away. I can't give it up, but it's a weight. And
Yeah.
so I gave myself permission to put it in a box and not look at it. I just set it aside and keeping it for my kids because it's part of their history and my history, so I don't wanna just throw it all in the trash. But it it just it has become a museum, and it's like I'm opening the windows and opening the doors
Yeah.
and trying to let in new pieces.
Yeah, that word permission, it's like we are really genuinely waiting for someone to say, "It's okay now. You're allowed to throw that away. You're allowed to move on." And you are not supposed to sit in misery of any kind. That's a big concept behind what it is I do on social media, how I talk to clients, how I interact with my people. You're not supposed to fall down and then stay down, right? You're not supposed to stay down, but people fall down and then they just kind of get comfortable. They think they don't deserve to stand up. They haven't earned the right to stand up. They think that they have to lay in this mess and swim in it because they created it. It never occurs to them that they should just stand up. And
Right.
I think that's what Queer Eye, this show, does. It comes into regular, normal people who've just fallen into these terrible patterns that are keeping them down and keeping them from being able to imagine a good life for themselves. And it has these 5 different people representing the different kind of points of who we are, how we eat, how we look, how we live, how we interact with others. And it shows them that they're the ones that have to give permission to themselves. You have to give permission to yourself to move on. And it's
Absolutely.
so difficult, but it is so necessary.
It is, and this is just another thing I thought of as you were saying that. We get buried in these things and we stay in that misery, and even after you walk out of that misery, sometimes it's almost self-sabotage. As I was going through these things, I filed bankruptcy a year and a half ago. I was finding bills that were in my bankruptcy, but they're still there, like, as a reminder to me of how I screwed up.
Yeah.
And there's the word permission again. I gave myself permission to burn them
Yes.
because
Yes.
you don't need that constant reminder. It's there's little pieces. It takes time. It is that grieving process or an emotional process. Like there needs to be a bureau of emotional affairs somewhere handing out release forms. Like, check here if you're ready to stop crying in the cereal aisle.
Oh my God, girl. I would sign one of those releases in triplicate, but it is really the same thing I see with debt. I mean, people living trapped inside shame, whether it's shame, whether it's, you know, uh, anxiety, whether it's a routine of comfort. The real question is, what are you really capable of, right?
Right.
What are you really capable of? And whether we're dealing with grief from the death of somebody, whether we are dealing the grief from the end of a marriage, or whether we are dealing with the grief of realizing that you are in, serious financial trouble. Those are very similar feelings. They
Oh yeah.
honestly are. And it's not linear, right? So even when we are brave and make big decisions to get ourselves out of these things, congratulations. But I'm sure even Chris had some crisis of faith along the way. And I bet that even as Chris is living in this remodeled home that is lovely and very well suited for him, and he was up for a rate, a promotion at his job, and he was working on all of that. I'm sure that even sitting in that house, every once in a while, he thinks to himself, "Did I do the right thing? Did I get
Yeah.
it? Was it right to get rid of all this stuff?" And the answer is yes, it was. But like anything else, it's not linear and it just keeps coming. And you have to trust in the fact that you've done the right thing, right?
Right. Right. You keep paying on pain that doesn't serve you anymore. It's, like an emotional credit card with 29% interest rate.
Yeah, you convince yourself that it's noble. I have to pay for my mistakes, but healing really starts when you let stuff go. It's the same thing. And any type of all of this stuff we're talking about, whether it's Chris's dad, my daughter, your marriage, right? We are all going to irrationally, put blame on ourselves. That's part of this, and I think it's everybody needs somebody on the outside looking in to say, take the blame away.
Right.
Stop doing this to yourself, right? And that's what we're here to do. That's what
Exactly.
Queer Eye does for these people. They come in and they give them permission, right?
Right. Yeah. Filing emotional bankruptcy is essentially, you know, that thought process.
Yeah,
Yep. Wiping the guilt, keep the lesson, start over with better credit in your soul. It is something that I've learned very quickly in this, but I have to credit filing bankruptcy to making this process a little easier in my life because you talk to me ad nauseum on just stop with the guilt, stop with the shame, all of that, and just move forward. And that's what I'm doing with this. And I know, like right now, my finances are a nightmare again. And I know in a few years, if I have to, I'm going to be able to say, hey, Adrienne, we need to do something right now because I'm giving myself permission
yeah,
to just
yeah,
live.
yeah. You recognize that life is complicated and that you are gonna you've stopped lying to yourself. You've stopped pretending that you're gonna be able to stand up straight and never fall down. We all fall. And you're saying to yourself, falls are gonna happen. I am gonna fall, but I'm gonna be more gracious with myself. I'm learning from every fall that I make, and I'm getting better. I think it's really I see, look, you're turning my existential 4 a.m. crisis into a debt relief metaphor too. I love it.
Someone got to keep this from becoming a group cry session.
Listen, I don't cry nearly as much during daylight hours. I mean, the tears have been flowed. They've been stamped and entered onto the record, but I definitely try to keep my daytime tears to at the minimum. Yeah.
Well, consider this the first hearing of Permission to Move On, LLC.
Ooh, I like the legal metaphor there. Look at that. Permission to move on LLC.
Yes.
We should start an online community.
Adrian, with both of our ADHD, we need to not come up with really awesome ideas because it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Oh, you know what? Honestly, that's a great transition because I actually think that our ADHD has a lot to do with how emotional we get about this. Do you know? I mean, 4 a.m. Why am I up at 4 a.m.? Because I don't sleep very well. Why don't I sleep very well? Because I have severe ADHD, right? And it's not unusual for me to sleep 12 hours if I can finally catch some sleep or be up, sleep in 3-hour chunks and watch a lot of TV in between. But it gives me a lot of time to think about stuff. And as emotional as I get, right? Like, if the reason we did this episode is because of this highly emotional video I put out on TikTok a couple of days ago. And I was bawling, man. I am talking, I'm hiccuping. And, this story isn't even my story. I don't know any of these people, but I just thought about all my own clients and all of the ways that we can all identify with this. And I think some of the way we look at this comes from our ADHD, and nobody talks about how that ties into how we interpret the world.
Absolutely. Everyone thinks ADHD means you can't focus. For me, it's the opposite. I absolutely hyper focus on the wrong things. I will play a conversation in my head that happened 15 years ago
Yeah.
and think about it for days, or I will replay a memory for years. Like it's a YouTube tab I forgot to close and it just keeps replaying. And like you, I can sleep for 12 hours straight, or I fall asleep and wake up every 2 hours,
Yeah.
and the last time I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, my brain goes,
Yep.
"Everything you need to think about right now, and you are gonna hyper focus on everything."
Yeah. It's like the emotional version of having like 47 emotional tabs open in your brain at the same
Yeah.
time.
And none of them are the one that's playing the music.
Right. Right? That is one of the reasons why, I don't like to do anything. I don't like to plan anything after about 5 p.m. And the reason is because I do wake up at 4 in the morning and I everything rushes through. My accountant wants something from me. I have 3 clients I need to email. I still need to get an outline ready for our podcast, and everything overwhelms and I can't get back to sleep. And so then I'm up. I'm a morning person because I'm usually overwhelmed because I have to pee. And once I stand up, my brain is like, "Oh, we are standing up. Now is time to start working on everything that we own." And it's frustrating. But here's what I don't think a lot of people understand, Kristen. There is something called a lot of people with ADHD have a comorbid diagnosis called HSP. Do you know what HSP stands for?
And not until I looked at this.
Okay. Highly sensitive people. HSP is highly sensitive person. The estimate in the population is that less than 20% of the population are HSP or highly sensitive people. But it really turns our emotions up to a higher level than what other people's emotions are. And you start to see it in ADHD people. We have this
I'd like
irrational belief of right and wrong, right? If we think it's right, we're going to fight to the death for it, and we have a overwhelming, almost paralyzing sense of empathy, and we operate at a sensitivity level, which is frankly quite embarrassing most of the time.
Yeah, I first of all, I would like to know how the 2 of us with this found each other because holy crap, we're kind of an emotional basket case. But,
Yeah,
people say, "Just let it go, just get over it." And I'm like, "I would love to, Linda, but it's currently playing in IMAX 3D in my skull."
yeah, yeah. It's true that intensity makes. I mean, it makes us deeply, deeply empathic, but it also makes grief, debt, fear, everything feels heavier, everything feels seismic. It's almost like it looks a lot like borderline personality. I mean, our highs are higher, our lows are lower
Mhm.
because the emotion is more intense for us. It
Right.
really does. Change feels very seismic to us.
It does, and the clutter isn't just physical, like, right now, we are talking about this, we are recording man, this is the perfect time to do this episode. We are recording, but my brain, even though I'm with you,
Yeah.
my brain is elsewhere
Yes.
wanting to fix things that I
Yeah.
have no control over
Yeah.
and wanting to be there for a person that I'm like, "Okay, okay, I gotta get this done. I gotta do this. I gotta do that." And it is seismic. It's emotional. We just are big in those in those emotions. You can't throw away a sweater because then you think about the person and then the playlist. It's suddenly it's 2 a.m. and you're reorganizing the closet and the silverware drawer at the same time.
Yeah, I mean that's what ADHD is. It's emotion, it's frenetic energy, it's too many things to focus on at once, and it's this feeling like we are the only ones that can solve all of these problems because everyone else
Exactly.
seems to be comfortably sleeping.
Yes. Like
They clearly don't know the urgency going on in the world.
right. There was a text message this morning and a situation solved itself, but it didn't solve itself because it created new problems. And I was like, okay, boom, 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 boom. And I need a minute to figure this out. And I'm like, I have it figured out right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
And it's so much.
Yeah. It is. When do we move forward? How do we stop this circular, oh, I got to do this. Oh, now I got to do this. Oh, now I got to do this. Oh, now I got to do this. It's really hard to let go and move forward when you're constantly in that cycle. And ADHD people are in that cycle by a matter of necessity, by the way our dopamine works. But we also have this added extra issue many of us do with this high sensitivity. We are resistant to constructive criticism. We don't receive criticism very well. And it can make the whole situation feel worse, right? It can
Oh,
make
yeah.
grief feel worse. It can make debt feel worse. We can become hostile to people who are trying to help us. I mean, that's just me.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Like, I didn't understand. I went through, as you did, the majority of my life without understanding that I have ADHD
Yeah.
because we're women and it didn't get diagnosed. And when I did finally get diagnosed, I was like, holy crap, so much more makes sense. It
Yeah.
all makes sense now. But how do I fix it? How do I stop it? Like, and then we cry it queer eye and it's basically ADHD emotional rehab.
Listen, I'm sobbing, but I'm productive. I mean, I'm productive. I made a video that got thousands of views. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna find a way to be productive, right?
And then I saw the video and I was
Eh,
like, "Hey,
Girl,
genius. Thank you for sobbing at 4 a.m. We know what we're talking about now."
we got ourselves a plan now. Well, I love how we're tying this into we're taking my 4 a.m. crying to Queer Eye. I hope some of the guys from Queer Eye hear this and I hope they receive this in the way that I'm putting it out into the world. I think that what they do is amazing. You got like a therapist is one of them, really helps pull out and tease out some of the stuff that helps people see their own selves better. And that's kind of, I always think of that's what I do on social
Mhm.
media is, I try to play if I was Queer Eye, right? I'd be the legal person, right? Trying to help people see that whatever legal stuff they need to do to fix their life up, it's okay. It's okay to get rid of the chair that your dad passed away in. It's okay to want to move forward. And so, what do we do now? I mean, Netflix, to be sending Fab Five to me and my all my people. I want it all the time.
Right, exactly. And to tie into what you just said, I may not be legal advice, but there's times where I say some pretty prophetic things and I don't realize I say it
Yeah,
until after people are like, "Dude, that just got me out of something." You know,
yeah,
telling people the failures of my homestead, my farm, and people saying, "Yeah, you're right. Like it's okay for to fail and just keep moving and keep going and keep growing and learning because you have to." And for people that are like, "I don't know where to start small.
yeah,
Clean a drawer, donate one item from before your new path. You change your routine. It tells your brain we are in charge and we live here now. And the future is undeniably ours."
yeah. That's beautiful. But let's be honest. I mean, Netflix is not sending the Fab Five over to fix our lives. I mean, it's a tragic oversight. And please know that if Caramo shows up, I'm making coffee because he's the coolest guy on the face of the earth. Well, he's one of the five coolest. There's a lot of cool guys on there, but that is all they do. They
Mhm.
just show up. And their whole purpose in life is to give somebody, fake permission.
Right.
It's not, I mean, you don't need it. You don't need someone on the outside to tell you it's okay, but somehow someone on the outside telling you it's okay somehow allows you to let it go. And that's what you and I do a lot when on
Mhm.
our bankruptcy content on our social media.
Mhm.
Me as a lawyer, I'm saying this is okay. You're going to be okay. And you, as somebody who's gone through it, has said, "Look, I'm going to be okay." Right? And
Mhm.
you're giving somebody permission to think about a solution that they had not let themselves think about. That's what I
Right.
really love. I love it.
To be honest, you did that for me. Even though I knew it was the right answer, you had to drag me across the finish line, kicking and
Yeah.
screaming, even though, but it took me months to accept the permission,
Yeah. Well, it's
you
like
know?
when I first started right after my daughter passed, obviously going into her room and, going through her stuff and nothing felt right. I could see how somebody would just say, I'm not doing that ever. I can absolutely see how that happens. And I had a lot of people around me who were encouraging me to to box it up and get it out of there. And it I'm very, very grateful. I'm very grateful because I think that if everything was still the same right now, it would be harder for me to move on. It really would be. And
Oh, yeah.
I've learned that. And so I want everybody else to understand that I've cleared out stuff so that I can make room for her legacy, to live differently in me. So we have lots of, routines. A lot of people don't realize my office is her former bedroom. So it was a way to turn it into something beautiful that I love coming to. I have memories of her here, but I'm also creating a lot of new memories of me, being a boss babe. And I think she would be proud of that. So I've taken
Hmm.
some of the sadness that could be here, and I'm trying to channel it into something that is helpful to me. And
Right.
I'm, it's just kind of how I'm doing it.
Well, it's spiritual decluttering. And I will say, when you said, I remember this, when you said, this was her bedroom and I'm going to turn it into my office. And I thought to myself, because I know you had told me all the things, Zoe was so proud of you and pushing you to do all of these things. And I thought, that's a phenomenal way
Yeah,
to tie her into this
yeah,
and to keep her legacy, build that for you. And I think
yeah,
it's brilliant. I love it.
yeah.
And you're not tossing memories, you're creating room for more counter space and to keep her with you.
I like that. I like this spiritual decluttering metaphor. And of course, with debt, it's the same principle. Bankruptcy isn't giving up; it's really an act of love, for your future self. I always tell people your future self is really going to appreciate, is going to thank you very much
Mhm.
for having done this. And
Yep.
so, I being kind to your future self, I think, is one of the most gracious things you can do. And we don't see that as being valuable, but doing something right now that helps you 10 years from now to live in peace, it's amazing.
It is. Sometimes the bravest thing you can say is, "I'm done punishing myself." Then shred the paperwork, light a candle, burn it, get
Yeah.
it out of your life.
Yeah.
All it's doing is weighing you down.
Yeah. I want to tell everybody that a dumpster is an incredibly freeing feeling. And I was always accused of being a hoarder. I accused myself of being a hoarder. And I
You
think as
accuse
I've
me of being a hoarder.
well, yeah, as I've gotten older, I definitely understand why what hoarding is very different than what I thought it was when I was younger. And I've come to learn that my ADHD, I'm not as much of a hoarder as I am completely paralyzed with decision making sometime.
Mm.
If I've started a new activity, a new craft, knitting, whatever, and I've gone out and got the needles and I've got the this and I've got the that and I've got all the things, and then I grow bored of it. I'm really struggle to do I give it all away to Goodwill? Do I throw it in a trash can? Do I finish the things that I started and then it just sits there in a pile and nothing happens to it? Because I don't know what to do with it. What is the moral right thing? Should I finish it? Should I
Right,
finish what I started? Is it
right,
okay to just throw it away? I mean, these are needles that other people would want and I had to pay for them and this is expensive yarn, and well, should I undo it? I feel that way about everything. Everything I come in, everything I touch, I feel that way. Almost like everything has an experience that I have to honor somehow.
yep.
And when my husband and I started to remodel our house several years ago during COVID, we brought dumpsters in, and suddenly I had this permission to just throw away things that I probably should have donated, but I just couldn't deal with the emotionalness of going through each thing. And that helped jumpstart my ability to start to declutter my life. It hasn't completely done it, but it has helped a lot. I believe in the power of the dumpster. If
Oh, yeah.
you can find $250 and you can have your local trash company drag one to your driveway for 1 week, and you start going from top to bottom and you give yourself permission, number 1, you'll start to separate out the things you can donate. I've learned that. And you can get rid of so much stuff. I know I've gone off on a dumpster tangent, but I believe a dumpster is almost like Fabulous 5 coming to your house and giving you
Yep.
permission. I feel like a dumpster gives permission. And I gave you I gave you a gift. I gave you a birthday gift. I sent a dumpster to your house because
Yep.
I wanted you to have that feeling of freedom. I wanted you to dump shit, because I know how emotionally cluttered our heads get, right?
Right. And it did help. And just yesterday, as I was going through everything, I said, I want another dumpster
Yes. Yes.
because
Yes, queen.
I feel like I could walk through my entire house and in less than 10 hours fill a dumpster because
Yes.
I'm done. I don't want all of this crap
Yes. There's
here.
no reason
And
for it.
after that dumpster that you lovingly sent me, I did. You were like, "Get rid of this shit." And I'm like, "No, no, no." And then all of a sudden I did. And I was like, "Holy crap. I feel so much better." And now I'm like, let's just empty the whole house. Let's just get it all out of here just because it's just stuff.
I'm
And we
telling
don't,
you. I'm telling you. I believe a dumpster can bring you a similar sense of freedom and new purpose in the way that the Fab Five showing up on your doorstep on Queer Eye could maybe do it, honestly.
right,
I do. I
right.
believe that. I
Oh,
believe
yeah.
that. I think the energy that it takes to hold on to something can be rechanneled into moving your life forward. And I think that's
Right,
what that show really represented. And that's what all of the tears and the emotions were, is permission to let go.
right. You can't plant a garden while hugging a dead tree. I mean, you could, but it's kind of creepy and it's not that great for the soil.
That's your farm girl wisdom there. But it's true. I mean, joy does not betray grief. It really does complete it, no matter what your situation is. And grief isn't just my grief, right? Grief isn't just Chris on Queer Eyes grief. Grief looks like what you're experiencing. Grief looks like what a lot of people are going through, and they aren't saying to themselves, I'm experiencing grief. I need to stop and I need to honor this and I need to find a solution that's going to help me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why your crying on TikTok, it hit people. It wasn't about Queer Eye. It wasn't about that episode. It was that universal permission slip to live again.
Yeah. People really do crave honesty. You can filter your face out, but you can't filter grief and you can't filter grace.
Or 3 a.m. mascara streaks. Trust me, I've tried.
I hear you, my friend. Well, the question isn't when you should move on. It's like, what's the one small thing you can do today? Let go
Right. Like
of.
a sweater, or maybe it's a memory, or maybe it's that stack of Visa cards that I have from before I filed bankruptcy. It's all valid.
If Chris can take the wheel, so can we.
Except for you, because you are banned from driving after emotional binge watching.
Yeah. Yeah. I do not drive after emotional binge watching. My eyes are usually too blurry from all the tears.
Yeah.
I'll
Hmm.
navigate. I'll have my husband drive me.
Fantastic.
So I know that we're winding this episode up. And as we do that, I would like to check in with you. Just check in, see how you're doing. In about 3 months ago or so, your husband came to you and said that he wanted a separation. And the
Hmm.
immediate response was he's moving into the basement. And then it was, oh my gosh, we need to build a tiny home in the barn somewhere. And I just, this has been moving very quickly. You filed for a dissolution already, and I just want an update. I know that the follow our listeners would love to hear where you're at right now.
Yeah, so a lot of things have moved very quickly. And uh, one of the things about a dissolution versus divorce is dissolution, you have to agree on everything. And we do agree on everything, house, kids, money, all that stuff. One of the benefits I have of this, even though it is the end of a marriage, something that I didn't want when I got married, um, we have stayed amicable and we have given each other the permission to move on. Um, you
I
know,
really love that. I really
right,
do love that, and I've encouraged you to continue to talk about the end of your marriage here because I do think there's so many people who are experiencing and going through this. And I have to say that this right here, where this phase that you're at, and I really wanted you to talk about it, just get not details, but just, give
right,
people a general understanding of where you're at because I'm incredibly impressed with where you and Jeremy are in terms of your ability to communicate, what you guys think is important between the two of you,
right,
and the fact that neither one of you are trying to tear each other down. And I think
yeah.
everybody needs to hear this because even a couple of weeks ago, there were little undertones of frustration and stuff like that. But all of that being said, I really want to tell you that as your friend and even as somebody who sometimes drags Jeremy through the mud now and then, I'm very impressed with how both of you are behaving in this moment. I'm very proud of you.
Well, I mean, thank you. It's not perfect. I mean, there's days where we can't talk to each other. There's days where we explode in front of each other. There's days where, I'm sick and tired of him. He's sick and tired of me. It's not perfect.
Yeah,
We're both going through our own version of this. And again, to reiterate, the end of my marriage I mean, everybody's is different. I know people that it comes out of the blue. Realistically, I've said this before, we know that we should have done this 5, 6 years ago.
yeah,
And I think that understanding has made it slightly easier. You know, our main concern is our kids, and we that is a united front that we have. They are always number 1. So, that is the thing that unites us, and hopefully will never change. But,
it won't.
it's I'm certain it won't. But it's weird to say. I told some friends of mine, I was like, I was just giving my ex-husband dating advice. That's really weird. And but I mean, we can talk about those things. And because again, not a lot of people have this experience with an ex. We are still friends.
Yeah,
And it's that I'm very lucky about. But again, was finding my wedding pictures and I was like, man, like 20 years of memories flood back into my head. And I like the good, the bad, and it's all this emotion. And even though I am, I am happier than I have been in a very long time.
yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds
It's
like
weird
Jeremy is too. It sounds like Jeremy is
I mean,
happier than
he's
than
getting
he's
there.
been in a
Yeah.
while. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's not perfect. There's things, but that's not my story to tell. But in relation to an update, he's moving out. It's
good.
very sudden, and I
Yeah,
shouldn't say that, but it's sooner than I expected. And it's for the best
yeah.
for both of us. He needs to do his thing. I need to do my thing. And we're moving forward gracefully as gracefully as we can, but also giving each other permission to say, hey, this part of our lives is over.
Yeah.
And we can live our lives apart, but also connected because of the kids. And it's going to be okay.
I
Doing
think
this now gives our future selves that freedom to actually exist.
I love it. I really do. I oftentimes am asked as a bankruptcy lawyer, should you file bankruptcy before you're divorced or should you file bankruptcy after you're divorced? I get this question all the time. And it ties back into this, even though it doesn't apply to you in this moment. It ties back into this because the absolute best thing that any couple could do if they are going through a divorce and they have debt is to go talk to a bankruptcy lawyer together. Because if you're married, a bankruptcy will cost one price. Okay. So you're going to save a bunch of money, number one. But number two, if you are conscientious enough to recognize that together you have a lot of debt, and if you can get rid of that debt, if you can take it out of the picture, then your divorce or dissolution could go so much more smoothly because you're not going to fight about debt, number one. Number
Mhm.
two, there's going to be more money for both people to go establish separate households. And number
Mhm.
three, you have more money to take care of and protect the children, right? I can't pay
Exactly.
you child support. I got credit cards, right? It just takes all of that away.
Right.
The reality, though, is that of all my years of being a bankruptcy lawyer, most people, by the time they get to the place where they're like, I'm going through a divorce and I need to file bankruptcy, the hate and the vitriol and the anger and the ego prevent anybody from having any meaningful conversations. I mean, it's why stuff just goes so south. It's why I don't do divorce work. It's terrible. It's embarrassing. It's cringy. People act like absolute total monsters.
Yep.
I'm not giving you that. Even though there's children involved. So
Yep.
the truest best thing that you could do for your children, for your family, if you have debt and you're going through a divorce, is to talk to a lawyer together. Very few people will ever have the
Oh,
ability
yeah.
to do that because they can't
Mhm.
lay down arms. And that's
Mhm.
just an example. You guys don't need it, but you're the type of couple who would have done this. You're the
Oh,
type that
absolutely.
if you hadn't already filed bankruptcy, I would have said you guys need to go together and you would have been like, "Yep, let's do this." And that
Yeah.
is a higher level of understanding and empathy and recognition of who you are in the world, right? Because
Right.
people who want to tear down their ex, all it's just anger. It's just
Yep.
it's anger. It's no ability to move forward. It's no ability to say, you know what, I don't have to worry about that anymore. He gets to see them. We get to live our own lives. That's a good thing. Find a
Yep.
way to live your life. And I'm so impressed. I hope everybody is taking notes off of what's going on here because no breakup is ideal, but you guys are really showing people how to do it better than others. And so congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
You are the Bureau of Emotional Affairs. You're the one signing the releases. You're the one in charge. I'm putting you in charge of Bureau of Emotional Affairs from this point on. We can get you a stamp and everything.
Ooh, you know what? I don't know how intelligent that is, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
Well, my ADHD brain thinks it's a really good idea right now, but check me in 10 minutes.
After we're done here, we've wrapped this up. Let's see what the next text message says.
One of these days, Kristen is going to start screen shooting and just making videos or posts about the crazy text messages that we have go back and forth.
I've considered this many times, and then one comes in, and I'm like, nope, can't put that in there.
Nope, nope. I can be. I tell
Oh
lots of
boy.
secrets. Somebody's going to hack my phone and learn a lot. Don't do it. Don't do that. Don't do
Yes,
that.
now we have to amp up security
I
on.
gotta change all my passwords now.
Oh shit. All right. Well,
I'll let you
consider
get
this
back
one
to your
stamped.
life. I'm gonna let you
Yeah,
get back to your life. Go
the
go get
chaos
some
that
stuff
is
done.
this. Yeah. All right. Well, here's your permission to uh go live a little.
Go live. Here's your permission to go live a little. You're not supposed to live in the mud puddle. Get
Nope.
yourself up. Stand up. Let's go clean yourself off. Get clean clothes on, and let's go have a good time.
Exactly. Let's do this. All right. Until next time.
Until next week on High Heels and Hay Bales.
Thanks for hanging out with us today on High Heels and Hay Bales. If you laughed, learned something, or just had a good time, hit that follow button wherever you listen.
Want more? Head over to highheelsandhaybales.com to catch past episodes, send us a message, or drop your topic ideas.
And of course, we're on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Come say hi, share your stories, and join the conversation.
Until next time, stay grounded, stay laughing, and stay out of trouble. Well, mostly.
See you next week.